Let's play quietly. Hey everybody, this is Brian here from Let's Play Quietly, and today I'm going to be playing a bit of Let It Die, which is the new game from Grasshopper Manufacture, and you may know them from games like Lollipop Chainsaw and No More Heroes and Shadows of the Damned. This was a game that was just released, I believe, on the 3rd of December, and I'm pretty excited to get into it because I've heard some comparisons to Dark Souls, although after spending a little bit of time with it, I would compare it a little bit more to ZombiU. But let me read the beginning. In the year 2026 AD, the Earth Rage tectonic disturbance occurred around the world, splitting the Earth into 4 terrestrial masses. Domination, war, disaster, and famine broke out in the 4 lands, and mankind fell into disarray. In the center of the world, a single tower rose steeply into the sky. It was a great structure, looking down upon the earth from the heavens above. People believed it held the key to the future. It became known as the Tower of Barbs, a place at which one could become closest to God. So that's kind of the setup, is that the world is sort of in disarray, and now there is this giant tower that rises to the sky, and as you'll see in a minute, you will be trying to get to the top of that tower. Now this character here, we don't learn her name right away, but there are a few NPCs that you'll see in one of the hub areas of the game, and I've only spent a little bit of time with it so far, but it's definitely a Grasshopper game. You see this train coming in and she's kind of watching it from above. And she says, "Another new arrival. Looks like things are about to get busy around here." So she works there, or, well, you'll see in a few minutes, but in this first episode of the Let's Play, I'm just kind of going through the introductory area. This game has a lot to teach you, and it's got a few different systems going on. It's actually got a lot of different systems, but you learn a few just to start. So you can see that in this train, there are several bodies that are sort of being kept in a state of suspended animation. So you pick a male or female character to start out with, and I just picked the male. I usually play with a female character, but I figured I'd start off because I thought I would get killed, so I'd rather get the guy character killed first. So the train pulls into the station, and there's a lot of loading screens early on in this game, but I didn't find them to be too much of a distraction because I'm still trying to figure out what the heck this game is. But you'll notice right from this point forward, it's got a lot of style in the non-combat areas, so Senpai, I was waiting for you. This is your first time riding line 15, huh? I know it's not a very well-known line, I admit. Anyways, this is the last stop. And he's beckoning you on. And at first I didn't know if I was supposed to fight him or what, but my fighter's name is Roland, and that is a randomly generated name. You can see right away that you have 3 slots on each hand, and the controls are a little bit different than I'm used to because the square button is actually the jump button here. So I didn't know if I was supposed to fight this guy. You use the triggers to punch and you notice that my heart started to glow when I threw a few too many punches, which is kind of like their stamina mechanic. So he says, oh yeah, here, take this. It's called an Underworld Rolodex, and it's super important. I forgot to mention my name is Uncle Death. I have a feeling we're going to get along just fine. So again, he kind of flies out of there, leaving you to sort of figure things out on your own. And so you can see him up top there. He just sort of leads you away. So I've followed him up, and presumably we're already in the Tower of Barbs, this large skyscraper type place, and as soon as you get past the flashy hallways, you see that things get a little bit dingier. And once you get into the combat areas, this is Ikigara, I believe, is the first area that you fight in, like the first arena. And as it's loading, you just sort of get a profile of your character, which is not very interesting right now, but you can pick up clothing items and armor along the way. Hey Senpai, it's me, the device here. All the cool kids call it. It's a smartphone. I'll be keeping in touch. And you'll see here that there's a lot of little tutorial balloons that you find along the way. So these are just the basic controls, and as you can see, the jump button is square. You guard and dodge with the circle, and then you use the triggers to throw punches or use whatever weapon you might have in one of your hands there. But you're in these sort of broken down tunnels. It says, yeah, let's go. Your first enemy is up ahead. So you run into a guy who looks like a zombified version of you with some equipment, and I was just trying to get used to the dodge mechanic here because with the comparisons to Dark Souls, I was used to dodging and rolling in Dark Souls. This game's mechanics are a little bit clunkier. Although one thing that is the same is that each attack has sort of, an animation time, so you have to commit to whatever move you're making, but it's not as fluid as Dark Souls, so you'll notice that my heart keeps glowing. That's because when you get fatigued, you actually become like paralyzed, so if I attack too much here, I'll get myself in trouble. I have to leave myself enough stamina to be able to dodge. And the thing about the stamina is that a heartbeat is really the only thing that you have that tells you what your stamina is. It's not like a meter that you can see, so you're kind of guessing. But I'm just trying to dodge out of the way as much as I can and get used to timing my punches. And what I figured out very early on here is that the combat reminds me a lot less of Dark Souls and a lot more of ZombiU. If you played ZombiU on the Wii U, and you can see I'm picking up some equipment here. He dropped a hammer, and I can assign it to any of the 6 slots. I have 3 on each hand, so I can toggle between them. So that is a bit like Dark Souls, although again not as fluid. But you can assign it to wherever you want. So I pick up that weapon. All the weapons have a durability to them, so they will break down eventually, and you will either have to replace them or you'll just lose them. So now I'm entering into the next area. But the thing about ZombiU that this game reminds me of is with ZombiU, the combat flow was sort of a back away and then run in and get a few shots in, back away, run in and get a few shots in, and there's kind of a momentum to it, almost like a weight where your character is throwing their body weight behind each punch, and so you have to be cognizant of that, and you have to be careful about when you jump in, because if you get caught and you're low on stamina, you will really set yourself up to get hit multiple times in a row. So as you can see, I'm just going through and I'm reading the tutorial stuff. These rage moves are sort of like power moves that you build up when your gauge is full. You hold triangle and you attack, and I don't think I pulled off any rage moves in this particular session. So I'm constantly, very carefully on the lookout for more enemies, and I just kept expecting them to be in the cells, but then they dropped 2 enemies in, so I was kind of grabbing my pants for a second and hoping that they would not attack me at the same time. And unfortunately, I think they do. Yeah, one right after the other. So he says, now's the time to let it all out, that pent-up rage you've got inside of you. So they're encouraging me to use a rage attack, but I was not figuring it out, so I didn't really do that very well. But I ended up taking out the first one. Now this guy's actually shooting nails at me. It's hard to see that, but you can see I got fatigued and he just unloaded on me. So I was trying to use the cells for cover and get away from him, and then in my range on my hammer I was misjudging, so this particular fight is a little bit sloppy. You can see I'm trying to get my stamina to go down there, and he's just locking onto me and unloading. Although there is no real lock-on that I've found, so that's something that's not like Dark Souls. With Dark Souls, you can lock on, and the camera will adjust so that you keep that enemy in your sight. Here, I was already having problems with the camera, so you have to just be thoughtful about that and manage it. So I got some coins, but I also found a shirt, which Dr. Drill body, so it's like an armored shirt, and I put that on so you can see that you're kind of scavenging from the enemies that you find. Here's the pants I grabbed here, so all of this stuff you're just sort of equipping as you go. So there's a lot of fights that you go into where you're really under-equipped and you have to just survive, because it's kind of like a roguelike. You go in, and if you die, you have to start over with a new fighter. So I was sort of determined not to let my fighter die this first time through. I just wanted to see, but I get the comparisons to Dark Souls because there's a lot of nods to the design of Dark Souls. This whole first encounter, much like the first encounter in, I believe it's Demon Souls, you are essentially going to die at the end of it anyway, but you can see how long you can basically last. So my goal was to not die. They're telling me to eat mushrooms, and so mushrooms you find growing in the tunnels, and they have different effects, and some of them can actually be poisonous to you. So you can't just eat them immediately. You have to either put them in your bag or make sure you read your description before you just eat it, because if you hit the wrong button, you could end up eating a poisonous mushroom. I ate that one, and it was a yoga healing mushroom. So that's hence the bright light. And then off in this side room there is a case of some random gear, and I know a lot of this stuff is procedurally generated and randomly generated, so I'm guessing the loot drops are just as randomized as the enemies in each dungeon that you go through. They're almost like the Chalice dungeons in Bloodborne. So now I have another weapon, and I found another mushroom, but I'm not going to eat that just yet, because I'm at full health right now. So I open the door. Oh, and then I find this weird NPC. She says, "Want to give me some of those mushrooms?" And this is where you find out that you can actually throw objects that you have, and so you can throw the mushrooms. So clearly here, they were trying to tell me to give her the mushrooms, and she's going to be a character that continues to show up later on. But right now, in order to get this gate open, I have to give her the mushroom that I have. So there you go. I throw it to her. She eats it. She gets like powered up, throws the gate open, and then pukes all over the place. So this is definitely a Grasshopper game. She takes off thanking me. "Thank you, kindred spirit," she said. So now at this point, I'm just trying to make it through here alive. And I head up the stairs. And we've got more tutorial balloons. A gore-tastic attack. This is another like charged up attack that you can do when you have staggered an enemy. So almost like Mortal Kombat. If you've staggered them, the button prompt will appear, and you can finish them off with one of these gore-tastic attacks. I haven't really mastered that yet. It's early on and I'm just trying to survive, so my biggest fear in these encounters is that there's going to be more than one enemy. So here we have a spear-wielding enemy, which means that the reach is greater. So I'm thinking, oh okay, I'll just, roll out of the way, and it won't be a problem. And then I don't realize there's a second enemy. So now this is exactly what I was trying to avoid, and I'm fatigued. So I was pretty sure I was going to get killed at this point, and you'll see it's very close. My machete is really the only thing that's keeping me alive right now. I'm down to 41 health. So I'm just trying to create some space and use the objects in the environment to give me a little bit of cover. And take out this spear guy because the reach is very long. So of course I get stuck in the corner. But I managed to do one of those gore-tastic kills where you actually catch the head on your weapon. But now I gotta take care of this guy, and I get myself in a corner again. But I managed to take him out, so I survived. And I was pretty stoked about that. And then boom, I get killed by a sniper that's on top of the level. So that's unavoidable. This is actually a cutscene, so you can't get away. But he doesn't last very long because Uncle Death comes in and takes him down. And apparently his scythe can turn into a golf club. So all that, and I didn't make it out of there alive. He says, "Want to try again?" Oh wait, let me put the title logo up real quick. You know how these things go. So this is just the intro, the prologue to Let It Die. But from what I've played so far, I really like it. It's got a roguelike quality to it. It reminds me a lot of ZombiU. And the combat, I think I'm starting to get used to. So I think I'm going to be doing a lot more videos like this where I do dives with different characters. But if you like this video, then please click like and subscribe to our YouTube page. And I will be back again soon with more